Hey everybody, this is Keith Saarloos, and you are listening to Chopping It Up on 105.9 Crazy Country. And this is a little respite in your Saturday morning where we sit down and we talk to someone that is fascinating in the San Ynez Valley and beyond. And today we have a young man who I've known for, most of his life, I guess.
A while.
Yeah. But watching from afar. He kind of came on my radar was towards, I think, graduation a little bit. And there was a ceremony where I think is it called a baccalaureate? I don't know.
That sounds about right.
That sounds about right. And you came in and brought a cello and sat down, and I went, oh, okay, this is going to be pretty good. Let's see what happens here. And I heard you play, and I go, holy cow, that was amazing. So please introduce yourself.
So my name's Aidan Woodruff, and I'll be a junior at UCLA in the fall studying cello performance.
Let's stop here. Okay, now I'm so excited about this because honestly, I think you're the most interesting person in your, let's say, age group in the San Ynez Valley, because every time I talk to you, I find out another little piece, and I go, "What are you talking about? Are you serious?" Okay, so let's just start with cello. So cello got you into UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when did you start playing cello? How did you find the cello?
So I started playing when I was 4, and to be honest, the cello just ended up finding me because of my mom and my grandma. So my grandma's been a cellist pretty much her whole life. My mom's a violinist, and I'm not sure why, but they decided to start me on the cello.
Awesome.
So that's how. So
you started playing. You picked it up at 4 when I couldn't even tie my own shoes, and you're playing the cello. Let's, for everybody out there, where does the cello fall? Violin, bass, everything in between. Where is the cello's sweet spot?
Yeah, so in terms of range, I mean, you have violin as the highest. Viola is kind of middle range, but the same strings as a cello, and then double bass.
Got it. So it's a bow instrument.
Yeah, so the cello is like the closest to the human voice, sound-wise.
Okay. Oh, now we're getting into the good stuff. Okay, so playing the cello, and you just stuck with it all the way through.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you love it?
Yeah, I love playing the cello.
And so now you are playing the cello, and I know you went off, when I heard you, I was like, holy cow, this is unbelievable, right? And they're like, yeah, he's going to UCLA to play the cello, right? So you got in, you're playing the cello, and I know that so many other things comes along with that because, I've been to weddings where people are playing and things like that. So what does being a professional, because I think you are, cellist mean?
So, I mean, I would summarize it as to be at the professional level, you pretty much have to be able to play, memorize everything to a extremely high level in terms of like someone puts something in front of you. Yeah. You got to be able to play it. If somebody sent you music and they're like, hey, we need this next week, you got to be able to play it. And as far as like the learning path at a place like UCLA, I mean, obviously everybody is going in there with a fair amount of background skill.
It's a pretty elite school
already.
For music,
yeah.
isn't it?
So you're getting people that are all, they're all still at different levels, but everybody still has,
their chops.
Quite the background. Yeah.
Sure.
So, it consists of you're playing in an orchestra twice a week for like 3 hours.
Really?
You're playing in chamber music groups. That'll be like a trio quartet or, it'll get crazy sometimes. Then you'll have all your solo repertoire. So a lot of the stuff is just like your own solo practicing, but then you have these other groups that you rehearse with and get stuff together. So
is your goal in music to become a studio musician? Is your goal to be in an orchestra? What is the path for a cellist?
Yeah, so there's a couple paths people can take. One is private teaching, which a lot of people do. You have a studio and you do that, and I love teaching, and I'll probably always be doing some teaching of some sort. Another path is you go on and you get your doctorate, and you can try and be a university professor, and that's a really good path. Very stable is a job.
Yeah.
And then there's the orchestra world, which is a whole beast of its own because you have about, I would say, between 150 and 200 cellists at least that will just they're on this thing that we call the circuit, which they'll just fly around the world or the U.S.
Really?
and they'll all audition for maybe one spot.
So let's put that in perspective. There's 200 people that are all vying for basically that one job.
Yeah.
What an incredibly competitive field.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get to that elite level, then it's like all of a sudden you have doors open for you, but there are 200 people on the planet.
And it's hard because it's all those are blind audition.
Really?
So it doesn't really matter who you are or what, you have to just play everything perfectly and do exactly what they want. So that's the orchestra process.
Okay. So we're going to put the cello on hold for now.
Yeah.
So every time I was seeing you, you were walking into Good Seed Coffee Shop, always wearing, so I'm going to say this for everybody else. The person I'm talking to is not a nerd, right? That's a funny way to put it, but it's true. There's so many people that get like, say they're really, really great at one thing, and then they're so focused on it that they socially, they can't do anything else. They're a machine, they're a tool, they're a one-trick pony, but they're really, really good at that thing. The thing that makes me so interested in you is it seems like that's just one of the facets of the many, many things that you do, right? So give me some of the other things that you're interested in.
So yeah, it's really funny. And if you sat somebody down and gave them any one of my interests, there's no way they would guess any of the others.
I know.
Just
so,
that.
So that's why you're on this radio show right now, man.
Yeah. So one of the other big things in my life is fishing, which I've been doing for a long time.
Okay.
And
what? Well, no. Let's be honest. Okay, what kind of fishing are you doing?
So I mostly spearfish,
okay,
but I also kayak fish, rod and reel. But like spearfishing is my main thing.
And how did you get into spearfishing?
So it's really funny, and honestly, impatience got me into spearfishing, and it was that when I was younger, everybody would try lake fishing and doing this and that.
Yeah.
And I got really sick of just sitting there casting, waiting for the fish to bite. So I was like, how can I go and have more fun and increase my odds getting these fish? And I knew a couple people who spear fished, but I didn't know them well. And I had my dad build me this like Hawaiian sling out of a curtain rod.
Yep.
And some like iron like dowels.
Right. And then did you put like a surgical tubing on it for your hand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to explain to everybody what a Hawaiian sling is, a Hawaiian sling is basically if you go bow and arrow maybe of fishing, but instead of having a bow and putting an arrow into it, basically you build the arrow into what you shoot. So you loop it around your thumb. You pull it down the shaft, so you create all of that potential energy. You aim it at the fish you want to get. You let it go, and it zings out of your hand and hopefully right into a fish. Yeah. How did I describe that?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Perfect. So
then it's funny because from there, I started shooting a bunch of perch and stuff like that. Yeah. And then when I started trying to plug bigger fish with that, I realized, this isn't going to cut it. Like this, you need a bigger weapon for the
larger fish.
For the larger fish. So it just kind of took off from there. And I kept on meeting new people from various dive clubs and this and that. And it pretty much blossomed.
So when you go spearfishing, where do you go?
Generally, I'll go to the Channel Islands. So it varies from which island, but I usually end up on a buddy's boat since I don't have my own. So they just give me the invite and
hop on.
Yeah. So usually it's like me and two other guys, and they're, in their 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
And
how old are you?
I'm just the 20-year-old on the boat.
Okay.
And
off the Channel Islands.
Yeah.
Okay. And going out early in the morning, I assume?
Yeah, early in the morning or at night to do an overnight, or sometimes we'll be out there for 2-3 days, or it just depends, but you have to plan it all out.
Okay. Are you doing this with scuba tanks?
No, free diving.
Okay. See, I'm walking you into this one. So now let's get this straight. You are out free diving at night.
Sometimes at night.
Sometimes at night or during the day. And diving to what depths?
So it just depends on what fish you're hunting. I mean, if we're diving for halibut, it's anywhere between waist deep water and like 20 feet, so relatively shallow for that range. If you're diving for lobsters, same deal. It can be 5 feet deep. It can be 30 feet deep, anywhere in between. If you're diving for white sea bass, sometimes you're plugging dives to 50, 60 feet. So that's a little on deeper, but you can also find them shallower. They just have a wide range. So like it depends what like kelp bed you post up in and how deep it is. And you want to sit on the bottom, and yellowtail, similar range, 50, 60.
So you're free diving to 60 feet.
Yeah.
So how long can you hold your breath?
My best breath hold, if I really work on it to get ready for a dive trip, which I'll do a couple days beforehand, I can maybe pull off about 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
So you're out there. See, this is the thing. I like, as someone who surfs, right? I love surfing, but I also like staying on the top of the water here.
Yeah.
Right. But I like going out to the Channel Islands, diving down 60 feet with a spear gun, which are also, we should talk about that, unbelievable pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
Diving down 60 feet, hanging out down there, looking for something, totally exposed. Because what we're talking about between the Channel Islands and, say, our coastline here, and then all the way out to, say, Point Conception, right? Mm-hmm. That is a hotbed of activity for fish.
Yeah.
And more than that, one of the things, if there's a hotbed of activity for fish, because a lot of people don't think about it, but that mountain range that separates, say, the San Ynez Valley from the coast is one of 7 transverse mountain ranges in the world. And basically, when you're driving on the 101, say, from Santa Barbara all the way to like the Gaviota Tunnel, or if you would have gone straight and go out Hollister to Coho and everything else, as soon as you get around that Point Conception, it is a totally different world, because there's the Southern Pacific, which is warm and placid and beautiful, and it's what everybody thinks of when they think of California. And then you make that turn around Point Conception, and the temperature drops, 5 degrees, and that is the same ocean that runs from the Point Conception all the way up through Alaska. Mm-hmm. And that's really, we still call it all the Pacific Ocean, but it's really 2 different worlds colliding. And that shelf right there is a very, very unique place for fish, for sea life, because there's things that exist north of Point Conception that don't exist south of Point Conception. But one of the things I want to talk to you about, because, I'm trying to paint a picture. You're out in the Channel Islands, you're down 50 feet. One of the only photographs we have of a juvenile great white shark is basically right off Point Conception. Mm-hmm. So it is a hotbed of activity for great whites and really, really large super predators. Mm-hmm. Like nobody goes out in the water at Surf Beach for a reason, right? Because it's like, is it one of the sharkiest places in the world?
It is. I mean, in sharky in terms of great whites, yes. But if you go dive in Florida, like you're gonna see, But for great whites, it's a huge breeding ground, and like, especially around Padaro Lane and stuff and Carpinteria. There's tons out there.
Okay.
And one of the spookiest stories I had was we pulled up to Padaro Lane on the boat one time to go dive, and my friend had his drone that he launched up beforehand to scope it out to see if there were any sharks in the area. Yeah. And sure enough, we saw within like 10 minutes 4 different great whites.
No way.
In the area. And I was just like, there's no way I'm getting in, like there's sharks going all over. And my buddies hopped in because they weren't very scared, and they plugged some fish. And I was like, you know what? I'll just go get a fish and get out. And I got in, and within like 10 minutes, I looked to my left, and there was like a 14-foot great white. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to not get any fish today and head back to the boat.
So, okay, now we're in the part of the story that I'm super interested in. So how often when you go free diving off of the coast between, let's say, that Point Conception, Padaro, and the thing, when you're down there, what do you see? Like, what do you come in contact with?
So we see a lot
it's like going into
rays.
space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like as foreign, people can spend their whole life in California and never go diving, right? I'm scuba certified. I love it. But still, it's like, oh man, you're going out into a totally different world. Mm-hmm. So have at it. I want to hear all the stories.
we see a lot of bat rays, stingrays. I see sharks every time I go out, but not the harmful ones. We have leopard sharks. Mm-hmm. There's 7-gill, there's soup fin. Those guys are always going to leave you alone. We've got fish-wise, we get a lot of calico bass, sheephead. Yep. There's a lot of sea urchins out there.
Yep. Is that uni or just beyond that as well?
Yeah, I think there's 2 types of sea urchin, but primarily like the uni type that you'd get if you go to a restaurant here.
So and let's point that out. Like Santa Barbara, this coast right here, it used to be known for abalone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that was kind of like a no-no or fished out or overfished or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert. It switched over to uni. And
Yeah.
so all of the uni that you see pretty much in like any sushi restaurant, I think that's primarily where you see uni for me. That all comes from right here on the coast.
Yeah, or Japan, one of the two.
Got it. Okay.
But Pacific, you know.
Yep.
And the uni is interesting because the reason that it got so popular and like such a big thing was the sheephead got overfished, and a lot of other fish and wildlife that eat the urchins.
Yeah.
And the urchin population from algae blooms and red tides just took off.
Okay.
And like started decimating the kelp on the coast. So there's so much uni that at a certain point, even I think it was up in Northern California, they were paying fishing boats to convert to uni boats to literally just scrape the floor of the uni and crush it and just toss them back.
So it became an invasive species.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really? Okay. So when you're down there, go back to more things that you see, because what's the wild stuff?
The wild stuff.
I mean, great whites. It's like, what does that feel like?
Yeah, it's a little spooky. I mean, you definitely
Holy
go
cow,
into
man.
like defense mode, but like when you're diving out there, you have to accept the risk and just kind of like make peace with.
You're not the apex predator.
No, not with them and out there. So
See, that's the thing that always scares me. It's like bears, or whatever you're gonna like. We have mountain lions around here and things like that, and typically you're like pretty cool with them, and because they're gonna leave you alone or whatever. But the fact that a shark, like off the coast, number one, that you're slower than them, right, and you are softer than them, and you are not in your natural habitat, and these things are moving in 4 dimensions.
Yeah,
right. It could be below you, it could be above you, it could be anywhere around you. That's the thing that like creep. It's
the other
Jaws soundtrack in my head.
The other thing that people say is, if you see a great white, it's not coming after you, because if it's going to come after you, you're not going to see it by the time it hits you. Like they'll be in the depths and they'll come out, and just if they want to get you, they're going to get you. So if you see it and it's just checking you out, it might still do a couple circles and stuff, but if you can see it, it's because it wants you to see it.
It's so creepy. Okay. So you're out there. Give us a kind of your little personal like hit list on some of your favorite things. Because I know like you just posted a thing a little while ago. You had a 50-pound, is that correct? Halibut, which is huge.
Yeah, that's about as big as California halibut will get.
What is a record California halibut? I guess?
The record I think is around 72 pounds, but that was, I believe, in like the 70s or 80s.
Really?
So to get another fish like that would be crazy, because even the 50-pound halibut's in the 30-year-old range.
Yeah.
So with the amount of fishing that goes on out there, to let a halibut get that big, would be.
That actually, you're bringing up a really interesting point, because somebody said it and I looked it up, where they were talking about we talk about conservation, right? Or conservation of land or whatever, right? Where we're like trying to save this animal, But one of the things that really struck me was the amount of fishing that takes place with drag nets, and a dragnet is basically a fishing boat goes out in the middle of nowhere, opens this massive, and I mean massive net that has weights on the bottom. They're basically dragging the floor of the ocean, picking up every single thing that goes in that net. They haul it in, and it is just kind of like a grab bag. It's like a little kid putting their hand in a bag of chips and just grabbing a handful as much as they can. So they're not specifically fishing for any fish. They're going for everything. And the number that I heard was something, and I'm really wrong, and I wish I had someone to fact check this year, but it was something crazy, like 90% of like the large fish that we used to have are gone.
Yeah.
Is that?
That sounds about right. And there's been huge efforts, since the 70s and stuff to repopulate them. The white sea bass for the longest time were just completely decimated by these like drag nets and boats. And
really?
I know guys that used to dive Santa Barbara in the 80s, and they never saw a single white sea bass ever.
Huh.
And then more recently, with all the conservation efforts, and they have a hatchery down, I want to say it's in San Diego or LA, that's been breeding sea bass and releasing them back into the wild.
Awesome.
And they have tags in them, and they've recorded some tagged fish that since they've released them, they've gotten up to like 50 pounds, and the fishermen will catch them, and it shows it's been successful. So
that's awesome.
Since then, and all the new efforts, there's definitely been a lot of growth in some of those bigger species.
So you have fished or hunted. Oh, I mean, do you call it hunting when it's a spear?
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess so, right? Yeah. What kind of tuna have you caught?
So I haven't caught any tuna yet myself.
Okay.
But I've got yellowtail.
Yep.
Which is commonly thought of as a tuna.
Right.
But yellowtail's not tuna. It's in the kingfish family.
Got it. I learned something today.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So yellowtail's in the kingfish family, and then white sea bass and halibut are pretty much the big game fish that I've got, and I've got some grouper down in Mexico. But tuna is definitely next on the bucket list.
So is a grouper that giant fish?
Yeah, they can get pretty big. It
Pretty
just varies
huge.
depending on what species.
Awesome.
So
any other big wildlife you've seen out there?
We see whales all the time.
Did you see the orcas come through?
Yeah, we've seen the orcas before and all that.
I couldn't believe that. I don't know when it popped up, but someone, I think it was somebody that was out on one of the oil derricks out there.
Yeah.
And they were just, Instagram, you can go see the whole
I saw
world.
that, yeah, it like blew up on the seals, yeah.
And then there's a seal just kind of cruising along, and then all of a sudden this black and white bus comes out of nowhere and just absolutely just blasts the seal. And it's like, what if I was introduced to the seal first, I'm rooting for the seal. If I'm introduced to the whale first, I'm rooting for the whale. But it was like, I didn't know that there was killer whales that close off the coast here. Like humpbacks, I think, okay. But then the killer whale, I didn't know that they were in our general area.
Yeah, they're pretty migratory, so they'll go through, and sometimes they'll hang out for a little bit and then keep going up north or down south. But they're all over the place. I'd love to dive with them sometime.
That would be pretty amazing.
They're just so cool, and they're generally pretty calm with humans.
They've never attacked a human, even though that they're like, if you want to talk about the apex predator in the ocean, I mean, the killer whale's it. Right?
Yeah.
I will go down rabbit holes of watching this stuff, and like watching there was they called it a grandmother killer whale that went after a great white shark and just absolutely blew it out of the water.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy
And
cow.
what's crazy is they'll hunt great whites and just eat their liver and then just ditch the rest of them.
Really?
Yeah, they'll just ditch the rest of the shark and just go eat the liver, kill it, and leave.
That's pretty amazing. Okay. So we've gone from cello to spearfishing. What other interests do you have?
I'm big into baseball.
Yep.
That's another
We should tell that story. That's a great one.
Huge part of my life. I've been going to baseball games my whole life. I probably go to 20 a year.
Do you really?
Yeah.
What's your team?
So, Dodgers.
Go Dodgers. Way to go. Way to go. So let's tell this story because I want to hear it, because one of the things you did something very, very special for me, and more than that, my brother. So let's get it on the record, and I want to hear the whole story.
Yeah.
So one day you hit me up on Instagram and you go, hey, I got something for you. And I go, oh, great. And you go, where are you going to be? And I said, well, I'm at a tasting room. Come on by. You come on by. You hand me a box. I look at it. And I'm like, what's this? You're like, open it up. And I go, okay. So I open it up, and my brother played professional baseball, and it was his rookie card. And then I was like, oh, this is cool. Thanks, dude. Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, no. Look at it. So I flip it over. And what a lot of people may or may not know is in the modern era of baseball cards, I think that's probably the right thing to say, they do very, very specific special cards. And I don't know if Pokemon started this or baseball cards started this, but somebody did when they started making very, very, very specific cards. And they have a hologram on them, so for authenticity. But then they do cards that are one of one, which is like, it doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. This is that one card. And you specifically found my brother's one of one baseball card from his rookie year.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you find this thing?
So it was really funny. I was just browsing this eBay shop from this guy.
Again, this makes you the most interesting person, right? It's like, then again, here I was.
Yeah, from this guy that I'd bought some other stuff from, and I saw it and I shot him an offer on it that I won't disclose, but I shot him an offer on it, and I said, like, hey, if you accept this, like, I'm going to give it back to him.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so he knew where it was going, and he accepted it.
Dude,
and then shipped it out.
It was, and we should talk about, like, what that means. Because, by the way, like, I've done, I Googled /ChatGPT. It's like there is a incredibly low amount of professional athletes that no matter who they are, right? They could be Cy Young Award, or they could be in the pros for 1 year, but nobody, and I mean nobody, has their own personal one-of-one card, because usually it is the person who is holding on to that card knows that they have something that person probably will pay anything to get.
Yeah. So people do big trades, and like sometimes they'll sell it back to the players if an agreement can be reached. But on some players where it's like, imagine a Shohei Ohtani one-of-one rookie card, right? Like that's going to go up for millions. Or
totally,
so.
Right? And because that's the card that, like, he wants it, he'll pay anything. Some other fan will pay anything. But there's been even I won't say lawsuits, but there has been a bunch of stuff where, like, people like in the NFL or whatever, they're trying to get their one-of-one card, and somebody's got it, and they're like, yeah, how much? And it's like, some guy, and it's like, oh, $50,000. And they're like, 50 grand? It doesn't mean anything to anybody but me. But he's like, it means 50 grand to you.
Yeah.
And then they're holding on to it. And people are like, for years, trying to like struggle and get the card and get their money and this and that. And it is such like a weird little microcosm, of like, there's one person who wants it. There's one person that it's special for. And there's somebody else who's holding it. And baseball cards, it's always been kind of bizarre to me, because we've like collected cards and stuff. Like, we have a bunch of cards. My dad loved baseball. Kirk played baseball. We go to shows back in the day where like Pete Rose was sitting there, and it's like you'd walk in and he's like $20, and you're like, here you go, and then he'd sign it, right?
Yeah.
And that's how a bunch of those guys made their money,
Yeah.
and got in some trouble for it too. But that was like kind of my heyday when I was like, it's about 40 years ago now. I was like 10, 12, 13 years old going to card shows.
Yeah.
And then there was the Beckett. Was Beckett still a thing?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like they will tell you, like a stockbroker, like what that card is worth.
Yeah.
And now it's come into grading, where it's like, what is it? It's an 8 or a 9 or a 10 or whatever. And then that increases the price as well.
Yeah.
So,
but the whole thing kind of took a turn when, back in the day, the cards, there weren't any numbered cards. It was just they printed out the cards. It was based. That was it. And it kind of took a turn when they started introducing different like parallels.
Yeah.
Which would be out of different sets, out of like maybe out of 99 copies, out of 500, out of 10, 5, 101. And then they started introducing like random autographs in boxes.
Yeah.
So you'd be buying boxes to try and pull autographs. So all that stuff kind of just drove it to a higher level of like, still the base cards that aren't numbered or aren't autographed are worth pretty much nothing.
Yep.
So those, it's the same thing, but the limited ones are where the collectability is at.
There are YouTube shows dedicated to nothing but watching people open packs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this? And
Yeah.
they're like, oh, no, you got to watch this one. Because it's like they do it in a certain way where you can't see them and everything else. And they're slowly opening. And they're like, oh, we got one. And you're like, oh, my gosh.
Well, it's also because you're paying, a couple $100 sometimes for a box.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Like some of the boxes are $600. Some of them go higher. Like I think Topps most expensive box this year was $12,000.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane.
So it gets really up there in the collectability.
Okay. Again, you're still the most interesting person in your age group. I'm going to say it 100%. So, cello, UCLA.
Yeah.
Pursuing that. Freediving. Pursuing that. Cards. Pursuing that. Anything else?
Well, the funny thing is I'll tie it back into cello in that most, the career paths I talked about, most of them are always going to be classical related.
Sure.
And a lot of my other cello interests that a lot of people don't know about are doing recording sessions for other various genres like folk, bluegrass, even rock and stuff like that. So I'm my true hopes with the cello is to go do studio recording for movies and stuff like that, and then just freelance work for people that are doing albums and whatever genre and just play cello on their songs.
I just speaking about that, one of the things that like a studio musician, right? Where when I was a kid, I just always thought like, oh, okay, it's just the band that's in there and doing it. And then when I was like in my late teens, when a buddy of mine had Pet Sounds stuck into the dash of his dad's truck that he got, right? And we listened to that album probably thousands of times. And then I don't know if it was the 500th listen to that album or it was the second, but that was the moment when I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Because that album to me was like, that was when, Brian Wilson brought in bands and then was dropping hair clips, bobby pins on the piano to get a sound. And then the theremin, right, which is you play it invisibly with your hands somehow, and then bringing in I think it is either UCLA or USC, one of their bands playing in the background, and it became this brand new sound. Or this was like somebody was doing something with sound that was totally different than anything else, and then the Beatles heard it and made Sgt. Pepper's, right, and it's like, oh, okay, it's kind of like before Jimi Hendrix played the guitar. And then after Jimi Hendrix played the guitar.
Well, the moment I realized too that I wanted to do to be a studio musician and do that was we had an opportunity at UCLA to see Oppenheimer live with the orchestra at Royce Hall. So they came and performed live with the movie up, and it was just like the coolest thing I had ever seen. And
that is cool.
Cillian Murphy and Christopher Nolan and the composer came and gave like a pre-showing lecture. And after I went to the back of where the hall was, and I was waiting to. A lot of people were there waiting to try and meet, Christopher Nolan.
Sure.
I was like, no, I'm gonna wait out here to try to meet one of the cellists from the orchestra, and I happened to meet the right guy, and he was the principal cellist and the contractor for almost all these studio gigs, and we got to talking, and he gave me a lesson, and the rest was history, and he hired me for a job last summer, which was a cool event for Disney. And it was this event called D23.
Yeah.
And they have this award ceremony for the legends that they honor every year. So they did this. They were honoring John Williams last year. And he composed this special score for the event for the Pacific Symphony to perform. So I wasn't on in the performing capacity, but he hired me to like manage the orchestra and, make sure people are doing what they are needing to do.
Awesome.
But, getting experiences like that and seeing it done live and just the like groundbreaking stuff that's being made nowadays.
Yeah.
Just really makes me want to go into that.
Well, you know what? You're the second person in 2 weeks that took the risk. Like where you're talking about you waited for the right guy to like reach out. Last week we had Ian Palmer in town, and when he was talking about how like one of his breakthrough moments, right, was he was working on something. He talked to the guy who was working on it, who was a real estate developer, big, nice, beautiful house he was working on. And he said, how do you do this, right? And the guy said, come with me, and showed him everything, right? Everybody, I think one of the themes of like this show just in general that I've kind of come to know by just sitting across from like super interesting people just like yourself is it is that moment of like throwing yourself out there and saying to somebody, hey, how do I do what you do?
Yeah.
And like we were saying, 9 times out of 10, that person is like, if they have the moment, if you have a connection, they're like, oh, let me help you.
Yeah.
And I think that is such, whoever's listening to that, I mean, it's like we all feel stuck. We all feel like we get in a rut. We all feel like maybe I'm not going anywhere. Find somebody that you admire and reach out and say, hey, what are you doing? How do I do this? Can you give me a hand?
Yeah.
And people are going to help you.
And my other thing, too, that applies to everybody regardless of path is, like, what's helped me so much is just talking to completely random people that I have, no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you'll just run into some of the coolest people that may or may not be doing what you're doing in your career.
Yep.
Might be doing something different. And if you just keep building all those different connections, you're going to have somebody in every corner of the field that you can rely on.
As one of the most interesting man in your age group, I think that is such wise advice. I mean, the fact that you're 20 years old, right, and you've done all of these different things, and your life is just beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be exciting. And the fact that you are so good at certain things, like being, cello, or you have so many interests, but you're also a generalist, right? Where you're saying, oh, I want to know about everything. And when you start knowing about everything and you play well with others, people want to play with you, and they're going to show you all of their tricks, and they're going to give you their cheat codes to life.
Yeah.
And that is some really...
And that's one of the reasons I chose UCLA too, is, a lot of musicians will choose conservatories, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's great training, but I've just have so many vast interests that I was like, it's nice to be at a place at a university where you can just get so many different niches and learn from others who are doing completely different career paths.
In every single one of those buildings in Southern California, just like every single building here, somebody is doing something pretty amazing inside of there. And usually the door is closed and it's quiet and everything. But when people let you into those doors and you get to see it and you get to learn from it, it's pretty great.
Well, and the funny thing is you'd think you wouldn't succeed knocking, but no one does.
Yeah,
so when you give it a shot, you're gonna succeed.
I hope you carry that. In all honesty, as someone who's 50 almost anyway, if you carry that throughout your entire life, dude, the sky's the limit, man. So tell everybody how they can, are you private on Instagram?
No, I'm public on Instagram, and I have 2 pages. One that's getting going for more musical stuff. That's Aiden JW _cello, and one with more of my fishing stuff. That's just Aiden J Woodruff.
Awesome. So. Well, if anybody wants to learn about, baseball cards, spearfishing, music, cello, I mean, you're an open book, and I've always appreciated that about you. And if they reached out to you, I know you're the kind of person who would reach out back and say, oh, let me show you. This is the stuff I love. Well, thank you for joining me today, man. This has been a treat for me. So this has been Keith Saarloos on Chopping It Up on Crazy Country 105.9. Back to your regularly scheduled Saturday morning. Have a great day, everybody.